Hey, I have Pinterest, I've seen permaculture, and there's no straight lines in permaculture. Hey everybody, welcome back to Heirloom Permaculture. I usually try to avoid kind of addressing these comments that we get occasionally, but I just kind of want to lay it out there one time for everybody to hear and see directly from me why I still consider what we do permaculture, even though you can see what we have going on out front here in the market garden style. It's not your typical permaculture, but so there's a lot of different opinions about everything, right? What is gardening? What is homesteading? What is permaculture? What is this or what is that? And everybody has a right to their own opinion. It doesn't mean somebody that has a different opinion is wrong. It just means maybe you haven't considered it from their viewpoint. Our objective this year is to grow as much of our food as possible. And we still have our permaculture food forest out back, where we've integrated more intensive gardening than we've had in past years, but it still has a more traditional look and design of permaculture. This out front is all about high production with minimal inputs versus traditional big ag style growing. We do source a little bit of amendments for the soil because this soil is so new. This is this entire ground, first time we touched it was just over 2 years ago, so it's not very mature, more than the bit of clay and bedrock that it was. So yeah, we've had to add organic matter, and we've still got to improve the soil, and we're doing that. It's a strategy, a short-term strategy for long-term effects, and the things we have to do will reduce over time. But like I said, this is all about getting a high amount of output in a short amount of time. We've got only so many months to try to grow all the food that we need for a family of 5 for a year. Now, do we have the option to go to the store and buy more? We do, but we still want to get as close to 100% as we can. And we know that the output of the food forest style in the amount of space that we have available won't meet those needs. That's why we put in this high intensive output design to meet our needs and to meet our goals. We're also still not causing a lot of issues. We're not bringing in synthetic chemicals, petroleum-based chemicals, stuff like that. Do we use plastic? Yes. Okay. But I'm not so ideological that I don't think that the return on this is worth more than the little bit of going against the purist. I'm not a purist. I'm a realist. So does this look like traditional permaculture? No, I guess, depending on who you ask. But if you look at how many trips to the grocery store is it going to offset? How much food brought in from other countries is it going to offset? We're not burning the gas to go to the grocery store. We're spending more time together as a family. We're attaining a yield. We're building compost on site ourselves. We're not bringing that in. There's a lot of things we're doing that we're still integrating a permaculture design process into this. This is a piece of it. This isn't all that we do. This is a small part. Just like any part of your design that you would do, you could scale it up and have the same effect. If you do a raised bed, that bed wasn't there. You didn't improve the soil that was there. You brought in everything to build that, and maybe you don't till it, but you do work it to a shallow depth every year so that you can plant. That's the same thing we're doing here. We're working the ground to a shallow depth. We're not deep tilling. We're not destroying the structure of the soil. So we're doing the same things, just on a larger scale, 32 by 50 feet. This isn't hundreds or thousands of acres of soil disturbance, and it's still minimal tillage, minimal disturbance. So while it may not look like our food forest, because it doesn't have continuous ground cover, it doesn't have layers of growth, it doesn't have the 9 layers of permaculture design, it has what we need from it to meet our goals and our needs, and still doing it. And everything we do, we gauge against what are our principles and our values, and what's best for our family while not going against that. So I think that's probably gonna be the only time I address that. So I won't be responding to comments about it, or you know, there's everybody has their opinion on what is and what isn't, and appreciate that. It does deserve some discussion, but there are certain comments that don't deserve recognizing. So let's take a look at how everything's going around our permaculture homestead. So if you follow us on social media, you'll know that just the other day I talked about this broccoli out here in the caterpillar tunnel. It took a bit of a stressing. We had to do some pruning on the leaves. We had freezing temps and a 96-degree day, really like within 48 hours of each other. Everything out here got stressed. We're still learning how to grow in a tunnel. It's first year we've done anything on this scale in a sheltered environment. So the broccoli, it looked like the leaves were going to dry out because we had the really high winds, really hot day. We had everything opened up, a lot of wind blowing through here. And you know, broccoli's a cool season crop, so it's really susceptible to the heat and everything. And we watered and everything, but what I thought at first was wind damage, drying out the leaves. It kind of progressed beyond that. It looked like maybe they were suffering from some type of mildew or something was stressing them, and the leaves, the edges of the leaves started looking bad, and then we started getting some spots on the leaves. I couldn't narrow it down to a certain type of mold. Just there were too many stressors and it changed too much too fast. So we went through and trimmed all the bad leaves out, got them in the compost, got them out of here so it wouldn't spread. They're recovering well. They're forming heads. We've got to get the tomatoes and cucumbers in here in just over a week. So I don't know if we're going to get the production we want out of these in time because it's gotten so warm so fast. But we're going to give them every day we can, and hopefully they'll do well for us. We have harvested a lot of broccoli from the other beds we have, but in here with the warm temps we've been getting, and of course it's even a little warmer in here than it is outside on most days, they haven't bolted, but they're definitely showing some signs of stress from the heat, and they can't handle many of these 90-degree days. So you probably remember from our previous videos that this bed out front was overwintered in lacinato kale and a little bit of red kale down the other end. And when we went to clean this bed out and harvest the last of it, we found that there'd been a flush of aphids. The kale still looked good, that's why we hadn't noticed it so bad, but we did find that those aphids had started to spread to other beds, and they were on the end of this bed of kohlrabi, part bed. Still got some of that there, and then on some of the radishes and turnips inside. Even got to it started into the edge of the bok choy. So we did treat immediately with some neem extract. I also ordered and put in some beneficial nematodes to try to help with the ground aphids, and of course that helps with a lot of other things. So we've done some treatment there. Things are looking better. We have left some of these as kind of sacrificial. We've gone back and forth on that, talk about, do we need to just get them out, or do we need to leave these ones on the end that we've treated and they're the most infested, but it seems like as long as they're staying there, they're not progressing down through the bed as rapidly. So the neem takes a little bit for it to work, so we're trying to give that time, before we just stir that up and cause those aphids to spread out. Give it a chance to work and see if that improves it. We're watching closely to make sure that we don't see that start spreading on its own. And then not planning any other treatments right now, as long as it stays contained there. Some of this stuff will be coming out pretty soon. So if anything, we'll order ladybugs and get those on there. But just kind of watching and seeing right now. They don't seem to be spreading at all. So if we see any case of that, we'll do that. I want to give the nematodes opportunity to get working too. Of course, they won't do anything about the aphids that are on the foliage, but that's what the neem extract will help out with. Onions are growing kind of slow. We're watering by hand. We don't have irrigation set up out here. I did amend everything with some feather meal on that, and they're growing, but Again, these were started from seed. First year we've done this in any kind of scale, so I expected it's going to probably take a little longer than what we would see right now if that was from plants. So this is our iceberg lettuce. Growing that for me, well, for all of us, but Angela's not a big fan of it, but I prefer it. We've talked about that before. So it's growing well, and maybe we'll get some irrigation set up out here, keep a more consistent watering on it. We've got a lot going on, so trying to get out of here on a set routine to really water that on a routine, can be kind of tough. Then we've got beets, golden beets, and leeks. There's also leeks at the end of the lettuce bed. Everything there's growing well, and hoping to get some good harvest out of all that soon. It'll be a little while on the beets, but you can see it's growing good. So back in the tunnel for a minute, just wanted to show you the trellising system that we're putting together for the tomatoes and cucumbers. I think you can probably see up here behind me. Made some hangers from aluminum bar stock, and that's to hold this rope that I'm using is the extra rope that goes over the tunnel to hold the plastic down. There's still a bunch on the spool, had it, might as well use it. But I needed to hang our tomahawks, our trellising system, a little lower so we could reach it. It's still up there pretty high, but I think we can reach the bottom of the hook to move it. And this will be part of the lower and lean trellising method. You'll see later as we have those in here. But took the bar stock, drilled it, attached it up, ran the rope through it. So we'll hang the hooks from that, and that'll trellis all the way down through the center two beds of the tunnel. And then I just attached it on the end. I can show you the hangers, the way I attached that. All right, so you can see the rope attaches right above the window frame. And what I used was angle brackets for reinforcing the corner of framing something. And I actually just drilled a third hole. The rope runs through the bottom hole, up, back through the top hole, down, and back through the middle hole. And what that does is all of that resistance run through there. When you pull that rope, it cinches on itself and keeps tight, so there's no knots in that rope on either end. You just pull all the slack through, tighten it all the way up through. Works kind of like the buckle on strapping webbing or something. Just it's all tension and pinching against itself. There's no knots to have to tie to keep this tight. If it starts sagging for some reason, just go down there, feed the slack through, tighten it up, and we're good to go again. Oh my gosh, there's vetch and dandelions between my comfrey and horseradish that's right next to the greens. That's by the current. They're mixing up. Ground cover, vines, herbaceous, fruit tree guilds, food production, solar harvesting, rainwater harvesting, which provides all of the water for the garden and the barn. What else we have? Lots of food production. We got chickens, well the chickens, not the wife. Compost, more chickens tied together. Not much exposed dirt, but it's only where we're growing food intensively. What else? We got thermal collection in the greenhouse. We got the not permaculture for the haters out there. Oh, there's a rooster. He guards the chickens. And there's a livestock guardian dog. He guards the rooster and the chickens and us and the farm. Sorry, haters. It's still permaculture. Alright, so I don't think we need to go over the fact that the three ethics of permaculture are care for earth, care for people, share the surplus, right? Or return the surplus.
Right.
We do all that out there. I don't think we can argue that. So we meet the ethics. Sorry, we're filling buckets with rainwater. I don't want to lose any of it.
Yeah.
But as far as the 12 principles, obtain a yield, we're doing that. Observe and interact, we did that before we did a lot of it.
Yeah.
Still filling bucket. Again, don't want to waste. Make no waste. There's another one.
Yeah.
So, do you feel like, even though it may not be of the purest form of what a lot of people think permaculture is, do you think all of the things we're doing are with the intent and spirit of permaculture?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I didn't want this to be a confrontational video. It's not what I'm after. It's just want people to open their mind and say, you know, not everything is going to be exactly how I think it should be. Doesn't mean it's wrong. Doesn't mean that it's right either. I mean, I'm not that narrow-minded to say that, you know, everybody's way of doing something, including my own, is the only way.
Right.
I'm saying based on our goals, our learnings.
And turn off the water.
Oh, I thought you already turned it off.
No.
What we're after to do, and the way we want to do it, we are meeting those.
Yes.
I think. Now, here, I'm going to do something here. Sit you down. Now, we've even talked about this. The lighting's terrible. You can't see me. I asked her if she designed that garden herself, would it look like that? And she said no.
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 That doesn't mean it doesn't work, though.
She likes the style we have them back. I like the style we have them back too. But everything we want to accomplish, you have to put in a certain amount of hierarchy and goals, right? What's most important, right?
Right.
Do you want to get somewhere fast or do you want to get there safe? Right? You have to weigh those out. We had a large garden out here. We downsized it. It was becoming extremely high maintenance for its intended purpose.
Right.
So we reduced it. Our needs and our needs.
Our desires.
We don't need to grow all of our food. Now, right now, with everything that's going on, it's surely beneficial.
It's nice.
I'm glad we
It's
do
nice.
grow a lot of our food. Are we at 100% yet? No. We're not going to lie about that. We are not 100% self-sustaining. We're trying to get there every day. We're learning the best way to do that with what we have to work with.
Right.
So, where was I going? Anyways, our needs for that little piece of property changed. To get what we need out of it, we have 1 acre to work with, I felt like we needed to change our strategy and go much more intense with what we have to work with. I also wanted to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's a lot of people I know that do this, and I admire the results they get. They all have different reasons for doing it. Some do it for themselves, some do it as a living. They do it on different scales. They've been at it a short term, a long time, you know, and I'm one that I want to learn the ins and outs of things. And I figure the best way to do it is to do it. I can read a book, I can watch somebody and all that, but we're dealing with things that I haven't seen other people talk about. Doesn't mean they haven't experienced it. I just haven't run across them talking about how to deal with it. Our tunnel sits on a slope. We didn't have the time, resources, luxury, forethought to level that out 100%.
Right.
So we're dealing with some issues from that. You've seen the water that stays in it. It's because water's coming down, running right back into it. We're going to have to figure out how to overcome that within our means. So doing these things, I feel like I learn the most. If I learn it firsthand, I feel more justified in trying to give somebody else that information. and I feel like it's valid at that point. I'm not just regurgitating something I heard from somebody else.
You actually know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
'cause you've
I've
done
experienced it, and I'll be the first one to say, if I haven't run into that issue, or I don't have any experience with that, I'll say, this is what I read, this is what I saw, or this is what somebody, go see what this person says. I'm not going to say, oh yeah, you need to do this, you need to do that, and then send you off with information that I haven't verified. I haven't done.
True. It may not work at all.
So the whole point of this was just say, we have a lot of different things going on, and at least for me, it's to gain knowledge and experience and all those different things. But some of them are for the greater good, right? I mean, we could water with a garden hose 100% of the time and say, yeah, we know how to water the garden. Well, I want to collect the water and water with that. The water's better. We're using less water. We save money. Yeah, there's a little bit of money spent up front on infrastructure, but and I want to do it at a much larger scale too. Bless you. By the way, it's allergy season.
Allergies, pollen.
You don't need a
everywhere.
mask, do you?
No, I don't. I'm good.
So, I can't say the word. So
There's pollen everywhere you could show.
yeah, yeah. Everything's yellow. But so, anyways, again, feel free to leave comments in below. Kind of what are your thoughts on all this? We're doing everything that we want. So we're not doing everything we want to do.
Not yet.
Everything we're doing, we want to do, or I at least want to do,
Yeah.
to learn from, and to get the experience, to try to meet our goals. Whole different amount of reasons, right? And we're going to keep doing that. It's going to change. Things are going to change. If this doesn't meet our long-term goals, we'll change that. None of it's permanent, right? So that's kind of where we're at right now. I know it's been a while since we've been kicking out much of a video.
Yeah.
We've even missed live, but we had a lot of things going on around here. Had just kind of take a little break. Showed you the greenhouse, things going crazy in there. A lot of stuff about to go out in the ground. Still got things to get ready to go out. And there's all kinds of stuff going on. And it's hot.
It's hot.
It's hot today. It's supposed to be 90.
So you would think that tomatoes and peppers could go out.
Yeah.
But
we have freezing temps coming up in the next couple days.
We do.
Again, so hopefully things don't take too much of a shock. I've actually had to I've said before, we don't heat the little cattle panel greenhouse. We've got 30 flats of warm season crops in there. I am not losing all those and starting over, because our goal is to grow all of our food.
Right.
I'm not so ideological that I won't put a little supplemental heat in there to preserve all that time, effort, and potential.
We haven't heated in the past, but we haven't had so much to lose in the past.
So, little propane heater in there. I think 2 or 3 nights in the past few weeks.
Right.
We've added heat because we've got too many now to really bring them in and out every night.
Yeah.
So, have added a little bit of heat. I'm going to do it as little as possible. I'm not trying to keep it 65 in there. I'm just trying to keep it about 50 if possible. So low and slow, as little heat as possible. I'm not trying to grow the stuff at night in there. I'm just trying to keep it from dying.
Keep it from freezing.
So, but yeah, so we'll try to keep everybody updated more what's going on. I don't know, you got anything?
Not really.
You got dirt on your face.
I probably
didn't want to
do.
tell you.
Do I really?
She's been working
I've
in
been
in the greenhouse, watering and moving stuff around.
So the reality of my day.
It's like 96 in there, and it's barely lunchtime. So hot, quick, everything's opened up, but this sun is intense today.
Yeah.
Which is great. Everything's growing like crazy, but it's going to knock everything down till this evening, and everything will perk back up.
Yep.
So, all right, well.
That's all. I guess I don't know.
I probably,
the time.
hopefully all of our friends understand this, and if you're not familiar with this and not real accustomed to who I am, we may have just lost you on this one, but
I hope not.
Hope not. Hopefully you can see this for what it is, and we will hopefully see you on the next one.
Right, exactly.
Bye.
Bye.